Right, we are live. There you go. Welcome everybody to another live stream. We're very pleased to say we have guests. We have Tim and Ma Dukes with us.
Yes, hello.
How are you doing?
Good. Long busy day already for us, as I'm sure you guys understand.
Busy days.
Absolutely. So now, before we start, now I know you as Ma Dukes. Do I refer to you as Ma Dukes or
You can call me Ma Dukes. My given name is Kathleen Kelly.
Kathleen? Okay, very cool.
So whatever.
So now for view, we've got a lot of people watching. We'll dip into the side chat and say hello to a few people in a minute. I just want to say, if you don't already follow the channel, the link for that is below. We'll talk about the channel in a bit. Now, I first found out about your channel, Tim, because you were live with Tracy. You had a chat with Tracy. It must be a couple of months ago now. And I just thought, this guy is enthusiastic like nobody else. And that was enough. I was sold on that enthusiasm. So if you haven't checked out the channel, it's a great watch. So please do. So yeah, hello. If you're watching us live, please pop in and say hello. We might take some questions later, but it's very hard to keep up with the chat and have a conversation.
You've got me here today, so I can.
Yeah,
Boy, they're rolling in. Look at that.
Yeah, my mom's not used to seeing such fast chat, so she's pretty amazed right now watching the chat.
I'm seeing our buddy Ashley in there.
Yep. Let's say a few hellos quickly before we get going. We've got Carbon Dioxide, Hamza, Michael, Daniel, welcome. Toys Are for Boys.
We have a super chat from Toys Are for Boys.
Oh, we've just had a super chat. Wow, hold on one sec. Robbie, Michelle, there's Damien, Georgina, lots of regulars in. Oh, here's Derek, good friend of ours. Darryl. Oh, I've missed Darryl. It's jumped already. That's it. I've lost it. I'm losing the plot already. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed Derek's live the other night with everybody kept popping in and out. That was a fun one.
Yeah, he's doing a lot more lives at the minute. Thank you so much again, Toys Are for Boys, for the super chat. Here's 666 in Canadian. Keep the evil away from the live stream. Buy low, sell high. Top tip.
Awesome. Thank you.
Top tip. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, there's Ashley saying hello to everyone. Right, we'll be here all night if we just say hello. So
it's another super chat from Robbie. Then.
Oh, just quickly, thank you so much, Robbie. Says hi, Nick, Andrea, Ma Dukes, and Tim. So,
Cool.
Yeah, welcome to the channel. It's great to have you here.
Yes, hello.
Yes.
Nice to be here.
So I guess the first thing I want to know is, how does your situation work? Do you two work as a team? Are you a business together? What's your setup?
He'd like to fire me, I'm sure.
No one want to fire you. So, I mean, it is my business, you know, but the thing is that I'm super fortunate to have her and my girlfriend Josie, who, if you watch the channel, you've seen in the lives and on the videos. And so for me, when I first started YouTube, I didn't really know like where I was going to be going with it. You know, it started out as just I kind of wanted to use it to direct people to my Etsy store when I originally started it. But then as things kind of got along, I thought it was important for me to show my mom and my girlfriend in the videos because of how important they were to me. And like, you know, the help, because everybody knows when you do this business that like, there's no way you can do it all by yourself. I mean,
especially not full time.
Yeah, especially not full time. And so like I started full time February 1st of this year was my first day of full time reselling.
Oh wow, okay.
So Ma Dukes is like, I mean, first of all, she's like in the blood of her in me, and my father is kind of like what gave me like this love for antiques and vintage stuff and reselling in general. Right. But you know, she's really helpful as far as if you haven't seen the packing video and of that we do, it's amazing. She is like phenomenal at packing. So everything I've learned how to pack, I've learned from her.
And I pack the glass, and he packs the non-breakables and the clothes
and so
but he'll pack the glass too if I can't.
Yeah, yes. And then now it's gotten to the point where the orders are getting like, so now we sell on 6 platforms. So the orders are starting to like increase, and it takes a lot of time, especially when you're packing the breakable stuff.
Yeah.
So we've gotten to this new system where she'll do the all the bubble wrapping, and then she'll hand it to me, and I'll find the box that it will fit in and stuff all the paper in, stuff the boxes, close it all up, print the label, all that jazz. But so, and then she enjoys going out to the hunt. You know, like I'll take her along with me
in the wild.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the fun.
I'll take her with me to the estate sales. The yard sales she can't do as much because it is like a lot. And then every once in a while, the thrift stores, I'll use her for a senior citizens discount.
Yeah.
but no, like the thing is with her and Josie, like I take them with me. A lot of times they end up bringing stuff
For themselves.
Yeah. But no, I mean, for me, it's just I'm super fortunate to have them around, and like for me, it was very important to show that to people because I think it's, you know, people need to understand that this is not all like cash money coming in and easy, you know, this lifestyle. Yeah.
From a viewer's point of view, just quickly as well, that to see you two, you know, bouncing off each other and having a laugh, particularly in your live streams, it's just that's gold. That really is. Yeah. And I think it brings out the humanity of it all and your relationship. And yeah, that's really
good. She's totally my best friend.
Yeah, and that comes across, and it's really nice to see. And we've interviewed, I don't know, probably up to 100 different resellers on this channel in the last 6 years. I don't think we've ever had a mother-son team. Yeah. So I'll ask Dukes, how does that work for you? Does that have problems, or is it just fun all the way through? Or
it's pretty good because I'm retired now and I can put the time in. With this quarantine, though, he has to bird dog my grandson because the kids are all doing the schools are closed, so they're all doing everything online. And I thought, you know, retirement was going to be easy, but it's more work than when I worked. But it's fine. Sometimes, like, you know, you got to play. Josie and I have to play good cop, bad cop, you know, on him, and it works out well because he helps me out around here too, because, you know, I'm got a little bit of the old arthritis and a little bit of fibromyalgia, so I'm not as fast and as quick as I used to be, and I can't do as much as I used to. But, you know, between the two of us, we get it done. I make him sweat sometimes because he's down here online looking at everybody's shows and trying to list and trying to research and multitask, and I'm upstairs fooling around. He's looking at the clock thinking, post office closes at 4 or 5, and I'm rolling down at 2:30. He says, Mom, I've got a lot to pack today. I said, yeah, I know. And we get it out. We pull it out of our
that sounds very similar to us, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'm terrible with time, so sometimes Andrea will come in and kind of be like, any idea what time it is? We've got to get all these orders out.
Get cracking there. Yeah.
And also the way that you ship as well, it's very similar. Like you're more like Kathleen in the way that you like doing the breakables and stuff. I won't even touch that. So I do everything that, you know, doesn't break.
I'm the packer in this house for sure.
Yeah. We go back and forth because he's got, you know, sometimes I just can't do it. Like if I go on vacation, he's going to be on his own.
Oh yeah, and then Josie will come in the clutch too. Like if I need. I'll never forget, Josie and I went on vacation. We went to St. Lucia, and this is before I was expanded, before I was full-time. I was just selling on Etsy as part-time, even though I was kind of like doing a lot of orders. So we went to St. Lucia for a week. I ran a sale on my Etsy store. I came back, and my Dukes was on vacation when I got back.
Yeah, I was in Ocean City.
And we had, 48 orders that needed to be packed and shipped like immediately. So Josie and I sat up for all night, and like this was I've come a long way in my reselling journey. So when I first started, I didn't know about like, you know, the shipping, like pirate ship which we use now, and I didn't know about like label makers. So I was handwriting my own labels for like the first year that I did reselling.
Right.
And so like it was, I mean, we must have went through like 4 or 5 rolls of bubble wrap. And you know, with the big items, like we sell like a set of Pyrex bowls. That's like 4 bowls, you know, and we do a wrap of regular paper, then small bubble, then big bubble.
It looks like a football when you're done.
Yeah,
Or a
because
turkey.
we want to make sure that it bounces when it's done. Like that, no choice of no breakage possible. And so like it just goes back to like how fortunate I am to have like my mom and Josie, because I would have been up for 24 hours having to pack all those orders by myself when we came back, you know?
Yeah. Well, packing fragile stuff, I like to give it what I call the Zahir test. I don't know if you know our friend Zahir, who does YouTube as well, but he put a video out once where he packed something or other fragile. And he said,
I love that video.
You have to be prepared to kick it across the office confidently. And I packed up, you sold a set of coffee mugs and saucers the other day. And I threw it across the office when I was done, and look on your face.
Oh, no.
That's what the courier's going to do with it, right? So you've got to be prepared to do that yourself. It makes
now mailing things in the UK. Do you get a lot of breakage, or what's your postal service like? Are they pretty good?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's always exceptions and issues, but with the amount of stuff we send out, we have very few issues, really.
Yeah, on the whole, it's good.
The Royal Mail covers the whole of the UK, and it's kind of a set rate for the whole of the country. I know it's way more complicated where you are. And we use Royal Mail for probably 90% of our stuff. So for those people watching who maybe don't know, let us know where you are in the US.
So right now we are at my mom's house in Maryland. So I live in DC. So DC and Maryland are right next to each other.
And Virginia, Northern Virginia, is right underneath both of us.
Yeah, so they call it the DMV, like is the
District,
area.
Maryland and Virginia.
Yeah, so I basically travel every day from DC to Maryland to work here because I don't have. So we used to have everything here, but now I have a storage facility. So I keep all my breakables in the storage facility. And then here at my mom's house, I have like my research area. So all these books behind us are like all books on antiques and collectibles, on vintage stuff. And then we do the packing. So I go drive to the storage unit, pick up the items, pull all the orders, then bring them back to my mom's house. And then we do the packing here. And then I ship out in Maryland. And then I drive back to DC when I'm finished the day.
Okay, so you mentioned before about lockdown. So the restrictions allow.
Oh yeah.
Or
it allows me to So right now I can travel back and forth.
Okay.
They don't have like people at like the borders or anything like that. You know, like driving from DC to Maryland is.
It's just so close. Basically, the District of Columbia was created from the states of Maryland and Virginia. So after a period of historically, I can't remember when, but they gave most of it back to Maryland. I think Virginia even popped us a lot. But since they don't have statehood, most of the people that work down there work for the government, or I worked for the Kennedy Center, which was a performing arts organization on the Potomac for 35 years. And so DC isn't a state, unfortunately. We're all for statehood. So, you know, we it's just like they're so close that it's really not like, you know, driving a long way. We're like 20 minutes. Where we are now is probably about 10 minutes from the district line. Like we could drive down Georgia Avenue and we'd be in Washington, D.C. in 10 minutes.
Okay.
So
it's not a huge commute then, is what you're saying?
No, it's like a 20-minute. Well, also right now it's a little different because there's not a lot of people driving. But like there's certain times of the day where you don't leave to go one way or another because the traffic is just horrific. Like, I mean, sometimes, like, especially when you're in DC, like it'll be like a 5-mile drive might take you an hour. Like it's insane sometimes.
Yeah, that's cut into quadrants: northwest, northeast, southwest, and southeast, and everything borders on Maryland and Virginia.
Yeah, it's a part of the US we've not traveled through, is it?
It's really pretty because we're like near the beach, and then we're also near the mountains.
Halfway up East Coast, roughly, to give people an idea. I'm thinking.
We're
Yeah.
like right in the middle, I would say.
I'd say we're in the middle. We're considered the Mid-Atlantic region.
Yeah.
And we're right below the Mason-Dixon line. We're not really considered Southern like Virginia. Anything Virginia and down is the South.
Yeah.
But Northern Virginia is so close to us. So we're like,
Yeah, I'm like 3 hours from New York, Yeah, so
you can
not
get to
too
New
far.
York in 3 hours. You can get to places in Pennsylvania in like an hour and a half.
That's what's really cool about where we live, though, is that it's kind of sucks that all this is happening when I go full time, because before it was like I was working, like I was working basically 6 days a week almost.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the time. So like now I was like excited, like I can go, because you can go to Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, Virginia, West Virginia, and then
Ohio, if you really
there's
wanted to.
tons of places to go treasure hunting, but
Yeah.
now I can't go anywhere.
You could go, but every state's different about how they're opening back up.
Yeah, so it's difficult for sure.
Yeah.
It must be like every state's like a miniature country almost.
It is. It's like
It is,
50 little countries is what it is.
Yeah.
It's not united. I'll tell you that. It ain't united either.
Yeah, well, we
50 little
noticed that a
countries,
lot.
and our governors all act like a president of these little tiny countries.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
When
So-
we did a road trip from Florida across to California before we had our daughter many years ago, and we noticed so many subtle things change when you cross borders. We don't have the tipping culture like you guys do, and we got caught out so many times because the rates are different when you go what they expect you to tip, and we're just like. So we got into the habit of whenever we ate in a restaurant, before we sit down, can you explain the tipping thing so we don't mess it up? Because it was different everywhere. It was a nightmare.
Yeah, it is, and it's every state. I'm not going to knock it. Every state has its own beauty and its own. I mean, it is a beautiful country. Even the Midwest and out in the middle of nowhere where there's nothing, it's really. And California is a beautiful state. Most of my family's in California.
And
right
see,
now.
I've never been to the UK before. She's been.
I've been to England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. I hit them all.
Wow.
Yeah. I love Scotland. It was really nice. Loved Edinburgh. I love England. I like it all. It's all nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd like to get back. I want them to go back. I'd like to do a little genealogy and see what's going on over there with the family.
Well, if you ever make it back, we'll show you around.
Oh, we'd love to see you.
We'll spend a day in London or something. Or absolutely.
Yeah, I have an aunt who's British. She just turned. She'll be 97 this. 97 this December. She met my uncle during the war. She was in the Women's Air Force, and he was in our Air Force. And they met on a train. It's real cute. And they got married and came back. And
It's like a movie.
It is. It's like a movie.
Yeah, so much of that went on though with the Americans in the war.
I was just thinking. We were trying to remember funny stories because she's getting to the point where she doesn't remember recent things and people, but she does remember back in the day during the war when she was a WAF. And my uncle, I think he was stationed at Wadasham Air Base, but she would tell us all these stories about the bombing and when they had to hide in the tube and all that. And my favorite though is when I did go back with them, my late husband and I went to England for their 50th wedding anniversary, and we went everywhere. And that's when we hit Scotland and Wales and England. And she was so funny. I remember standing in front of the Stonehenge, and I said, oh my God, I can't believe I'm standing in front of Stonehenge. It's just amazing. And she turned around, she goes, oh, lovey, we used to party here, because I'm looking and we can't even get near it. We can't get near it. Everybody walking around, and it's like roped off. And she says, yeah, lovey, we used to party here. And we'd all drink, and then we'd hang out on the stones and we'd stretch out. I'm like, oh my God, Marge. She's a character.
We'd party till dawn when the sun rose during the solstice, and they'd all be running around.
I'd have loved that.
But now you can't get within 100 foot of the stones. It's like, what are you going to do with the stones?
I know. And to hear her tell me they used to party there and sleep on the stones, and when they're getting up from their hangovers or whatever. She was a character. She's a character.
Oh, sounds it.
Yeah.
So, going back to reselling.
Sorry.
Fine, that was really interesting. Because Nick is pointing at me going, ask the next question.
This is what I want to know, but I think you kind of answered it before. But...
Yeah, Nick wants to know where your love of vintage came from and if it started with Margiques.
Yeah, so it basically, when I was young, my mom and my dad were collectors slash dealers. Okay, so they used to drag me around to all the yard sales, the auctions, the flea markets, and then I guess by the time I was probably like what eight or nine,
Well,
I started.
You didn't love it when you were little.
Yeah, I didn't love it when I was little, but like 8 or 9, I started selling sports cards. So it got to the point where like I would be at the flea market and the yard sale, and I was making more money selling cards,
baseball cards,
than they were.
I thought you were sports cars. I was thinking, wow, he started big. He started really big.
Very young age.
Yeah, I was selling Lamborghinis at 8. You know,
Yeah,
that's the dream right there.
wow.
So
Okay,
yeah, so I was. Yeah, so I started selling those cards by like 8 or 9, and then I just always kind of, as I got, the older you get, the more appreciation you have for it. So when probably in my early to mid 20s, I started, I've always wanted to do things on my own. Okay. And then, so like we started this thing called the Craigslist hustle. So over here, you have Craigslist and they have like a free section. So we would drive around and we'd pick up everything we could for free.
Not me.
Not her, me and my friends.
Yeah.
And then we'd bring it back to a storage unit that we all rented and we'd clean it all up and then we would resell it. And so during that time, I started noticing the real difference between like a nice piece of furniture and something from like IKEA. So like that kind of triggered this whole idea of how they don't make things like they used to. Mm-hmm. And so that really intrigued me. And then when I started helping her at her house, cleaning out her basement,
downsizing, we call it here.
Yeah, she wanted to get rid. She didn't want to, but I was like, look, if you want me to help you, you have to get rid of some of this stuff. And so we started talking, and after I convinced her, I was like, man, I don't know how am I going to get rid of this stuff. So I started researching, and I was like, I don't know. Etsy seems like a better option right now than eBay does. She sold on eBay before many years ago. And so I was just kind of started doing it. And then one thing led to another and I just got sucked in. And I was just so fascinated by the history of things and like knowing how something was made. And there's always a story with it. And the beauty of something being handmade or in glass, it just hand blown. It was super fascinating to me. And so it just started off as me helping her get rid of stuff. And then I was like, oh man, there's like a crazy market for this stuff. So I started going to thrift stores. I started watching videos. I started reading books. And then it was like a crazy domino effect. And next thing you know, I was like all in. I'm fascinated, in love, like just it's crazy. And like for me, I'm kind of, I guess you would say, a little urban and very, very different than a majority of the people in this area and in this field of antiques and collectibles. So it was at first it was kind of difficult for me because I'm a very outgoing, open book, like very blunt type of person. But like going out into the wild, like into some of these places, it can be a little intimidating at times.
Estate sales.
Yeah, because there's people that have been doing this for their whole lives. And although I had the background from what I learned from my mom and my father, I was still like I basically knew nothing. And so it was a lot of dedication and hard work
and it helps so much to go on YouTube and see all the different sellers and how they did it and what they helped him, especially from branching out onto the other platforms.
Yeah, that's all the thing is like just learning everything else after that is just a whole nother ball game. So it's like, but at the same time, I'm also super fortunate because there's not a lot of people that look at things the way that I do that's in like, my age bracket. So like I kind of got a little bit of an advantage at the same time, but like it's really difficult sourcing antiques and vintage items. It's
not mid-century modern. Everybody's into that right now over here. Everybody loves mid-century modern.
And then learning everything is just like, there's not just 10 makers, you're talking about thousands and thousands of makers. and thousands of patterns and just so much information. And I'm a sucker, like a sponge. So like once if I see something, I also like kind of have the eye. So like if I see something, I'm like, I can just look at something and be like, okay, I know that's got some age to it. I can feel it. And when I feel like a piece of glass or I feel a china, I can tell that it's from a certain period. And then it's just like, then I don't know anything about it though. I don't never heard of the maker before. I don't know the name of the pattern. So like I bring it home and then like for like
thank God for Worth Point and replacements.
So that whole day I'm like studying it. And then like for 2 weeks after that, I'm in a rabbit hole. So like that's all I'm looking for. So
that's
it helps
the part that I love. I love picking up something I don't know about and then learning all about it. Well, you know, it might be worthless, but I've learned something.
And even if you take a punt, as we would call it, on something just because you think it's good or you like it or it's got a feel about it, and you get it home and you realize that's not actually worth much, doing the research, you'll find out which designs are, which models are, which shapes. And you've been experimenting a lot with ceramics. It's not really my thing so much, but
because exactly what you just said, you end up going down a rabbit hole. So one thing leads to this place, then leads to that place, and before you know it, you're researching a maker.
Now, are there a lot of collectors in the UK? People that are still collecting, or is that an age thing over there?
Yeah, I think so.
There is. I mean, it's a fluid market. Things come in and out of fashion. And prices, as you'll find in your markets, they rise one year and then they'll go down the next with fashions. But a lot of collectors for almost anything, really. I think there's a collector for everything if you hunt hard enough, right?
And that's what I learned.
And it's really bad though if you're a collector, because it's hard to keep your hands off the product, you know.
So
you're dipping into the company inkwell there when you're, you know, like a lot of things don't leave here.
Did you clear out your collections completely, or did you keep a percentage? Where are you at with that?
I cleared a lot of them out. Like I was a huge Wedgwood collector, and we went to the Wedgwood factory when we were in England, and that was like a thrill and a half. But I cleared out my Wedgwood. I cleared out pretty much my teapot collection, most of it. So, and I have really got, my Fenton. Oh, my Fenton's all gone, my Northwood glass. But I have been bad. I picked up, I did keep some of my my Hall teapots. I am obsessed with Hall teapots now. Hall teapots and copper lusterware are really bad for me. So anything copper, anything glass.
What's a Hall teapot? Tell a novice what a Hall teapot is.
So Hall China is, they do.
Oh, I thought it was
American. It's a US. It's a US.
Oh no, it's a company.
It's US. It's a US company, and they used to do a lot of restaurant china.
Right.
And it's not fine china at all. It's almost like pottery.
Yeah, it's really it's heavy duty like wear, and they do a lot of mid-century modern, Art Deco, and they did a lot of like variants on their teapots, which was kind of what makes a lot of them valuable, because they'll have the same mold, same shape of a teapot, but it'll be a different glaze. And then on top of the glaze, it might be a different gold filigree on it. And so like, there's just so many different ones that like, if you find one, it could be like,
but see, I like the ones that I ended up keeping were the McCormick teapots, which were made in Baltimore, McCormick Spices, and that's like a local thing. So I kept those, but I did clear out most of my collection. Most of my collections.
She still has a lot of Flow Blue though.
Oh, Flow Blue ain't going nowhere. That's the hardest to see Flow Blue come through. I really want to keep a lot of that, and I can't, because
going back to the amount of just the pure amount of information out there within your niche, if you like. That's what makes the channel really useful and interesting, when you go into something and share that information and really dig into it and share eBay completeds and Etsy completeds, and then you get super excited when you find one you really like and all of that, and that's so much fun to watch.
What is that Buddha said, that man's suffering is because of his attachment to things? but it's if you're a collector. I'm not a hoarder. Well, I'm not a hoarder. Maybe I'd call myself a pack rat. Maybe, but we won't go there.
So I wanted to ask, you touched on it a little bit, that you're prepared to travel for stock. So are you traveling to auctions, or what's your favorite kind of way of getting hold of this stuff?
So pre lockdown.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Okay, so pre-lockdown, I basically would have a routine. Like I can go from when I travel from my house in DC to my mom's house, I can hit like 3 thrift stores on my way. So I would hit like 3 thrift stores and then come here. Obviously, I like thrift stores because of the price, right? So if you do, I never really did many in-person auctions. My mom was big in auctions. We went to our first auction together
the week before the lockdown.
And it was amazing. I got so much stuff for so good of a price. I was blown away. And because it's insane. There's not everybody sees everything the same way when it comes to value. So like that's why I try to stretch out the amount of information that I know, because when I used to walk into a thrift store when I first started, I was only looking for like 3 or 4 things. Now I walk into a thrift store and I could be in there for 4 hours. And so that's why I feel like with thrift stores, you have an opportunity as far as the business goes to find better profit margins than most of the auctions, because
or the estate sales.
Estate sales, I love estate sales because that's where you have a better chance of getting things in better condition, because when things go through a thrift store, that the amount of like just boosh, boosh, kush, kush.
They just throw stuff on the shelves.
It's scary. Like there's so many times I walk through a thrift store and I can see something from a mile away, and I'm blind, but I can see it a mile away. And like as soon as I get to it, I'm like picking it up and I'm adoring it, and then I'm turning it around, and then it's just like kush, this giant chip or crack. I'm just like, oh, you're killing me.
Yeah, but like running across the store in slow motion, just shoving old people out of the way. And
well, like estate sales, you get these opportunities where like
someone's passed away who was a collector, and they've taken really good care of their
and there's
items.
just so much of it, and you're blown away. So like, but I like the yard sales too, because I saw Kelly's post on Instagram, by the way, of all her glassware in the thrift store. But I was the yard sales is something about where it's just there's more of a chance of that that feeling you get when you find something that is like insanely valuable, and the person you're getting it from doesn't know.
Feel kind of bad sometimes.
You feel kind of bad, but at the same time, you're just like, it's almost like a movie feeling of treasure hunting, where you're just like, you doing all this work, you've been up since 5 a.m, you've been to 20 yard sales, and it's hot and you're hungry, but then you just get there and there's just that peace, and you pick it up and you're just like, this was all worth it for this one.
You get the adrenaline, and you get back in the car, and your adrenaline's still going. But also, I think we don't have so many sort of yard sales as you do here. It's starting to become more of a thing in the UK. But I love it when you walk up to a store and you can just tell it's quality stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we go for different things quite a lot, but what in my sort of field, it's like, okay, and then there's going to be more, and then you ask a few questions, and then it's like, and it just keeps coming.
Yeah, and so the car boots are like our flea markets, right?
Yeah, car boots are kind of an organized place where anyone can turn up, pay your money, and you sell it out the back of your car.
Yeah,
I went to one when I was in England. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and they're great. They can be from just 10 stalls up to 200. Some of them are huge. You can't even get around it all, and that's where we get most of our stuff. But it's starting to become a thing where a village or a town will organize like over a
community.
A community, yeah. So you'll have it out the front of your house, and they'll publish a little map, and we call them like jumble trails or yard sale trails.
So it is like a garage sale trail.
Yeah, and that's more, I think, how you guys tend to do it in the US.
Yeah, the East Coast is big for it, and they collect totally different. California is different too.
And that's the other thing too, is like where we live, we have 4 seasons, like a complete 4 seasons. Sometimes 4 seasons in one day. So it's like your yard sale season is very very short sometimes, and like that is the downfall. So you really have to be on top of it as far as your different opportunities and ways of sourcing. And we even go to antique malls, because there's a lot of times where, you know, you go to an antique mall and, you know, a booth might be having a sale, and it's an opportunity for you to find something. Then a lot of times, you know, people sell things in antique malls and booths, and they don't necessarily know what they're selling.
That's true. Yeah.
So like
we look through. There's a couple in Hitchin that we go into and have a little look around.
Because not everybody knows everything, okay?
Yeah.
And you learn that quickly. I don't, you don't. None of us know everything. And not every dealer, you assume a dealer will not put something out and leave a big chunk of profit on it, but they do. My good friend Edward at Antiques Arena, I don't know if you've watched any.
Yeah, I'm a subscribe to both his channels.
Yeah, he gets some of his best deals from dealers who just don't quite know what they've got. And yeah, so he always looks at the dealers' stalls, you know, at car boot sales or antique centers.
The biggest thing for me of doing that is, so I'm sure you know, like my love for uranium glass and Vaseline glass. So for me, that's one of the biggest things that I find that is super valuable that nobody knows about. Like, they don't even know that it glows. They don't even know like its potential, anything.
It's so funny when he goes to the thrift stores, he whips out the black light and he's looking at things and people are looking at him like, what are you doing?
Well, I shared that you would have seen on the thumbnail I picked out, because it's kind of what I think of now when I think of you is like glowing green stuff. Like, and I shared that as part of the image because I think that's almost your trademark, and you get excited about that more than anything.
Yeah, it's definitely the most exciting thing for me. It's funny because I knew nothing really about it at all, like most of the stuff that I know now. And so I remember my mom mentioning it to me, and I was kind of like, she didn't really know too much about it either.
I just knew it glowed. I knew more about Vaseline glass itself.
Yeah.
Not just the broad category of uranium. I just remember that, oh, look, there's that yellow Vaseline glass, and if you put a black light on it, it glows. I didn't realize so much green glowed, and I even had fenton that I didn't even know had uranium
that glowed. And so I like just Googled it, and you know how like when you Google something for the first time, the first thing that pops up is the most glorious. So like I Googled it, and I was like looking at it, and it was like these pieces that were like selling for like $6,000, and I'm just like, oh man, like I gotta get into this. So my friend got me a little black light keychain. And I remember being in the thrift store when I first got it, like just all amped, like I'm gonna find this piece. It's like I find the first piece. It was a cup and saucer, depression glass, uranium glass, right? And I bring it home, and I'm like losing it. I'm like so excited. I'm like, we're gonna make it now. Like, it's all good. I'm gonna pay off the houses, you know. Like here it comes, and then like. I was just like turning the light on and off for like 20 minutes, just looking at it. And then like, I finally was like, okay, let me research this. I started researching it and found out it was only worth like $10. but that was the start of
uranium.
Yeah. And it became something that was right now has really been a huge part of my business, because I spent the next, how long do you think? I spent the next probably 4 or 5 months stockpiling as much anything I could find that glowed. I bought it. And so for specifically one portion of that glass, depression glass, it sells really low, you know, the last couple of years. And glass, like most anything else, it fluctuates, cyclical, right? Yeah. So I looked at it as like as an investment, as a stock, because I saw potential in the crossing of generations with this sort of antique, because of the fascination of something glowing, right? I thought, you know, this is something that a collector would like. This is something that somebody young and knew nothing about antiques might get excited about. And so I saw an opportunity to buy everything I could at an extremely low price, thinking that within the next year, as the internet starts to catch wind of what uranium and glass and Vaseline glass is, that it could be a huge moneymaker. And it turned out that I was right. And thank God, because I must have, at one point, I must have had well over 1,000 pieces just of uranium glass.
You couldn't even put it on the shelves. We just left it wrapped up in the boxes. And thank goodness he could remember what was in the boxes when he sold it.
And so like we sell some every day.
Can I ask again, a super novice question. I've never handled any or seen any. So if you walk into a thrift store, in your case, for the naked eye, it looks like a regular glass, or is there something you can tell without being in the dark?
Green.
I
Does
mean,
it have a green tinge then?
You got a piece up there?
oh,
It's tight quarters. He's gonna find a piece.
I don't have my flashlight with me right now, but
There's a piece.
I mean, can you tell just by looking at it straight away then?
I mean, I can now.
Yeah.
Most of the time, but I mean, like something like this, right? Like this is Italian, as Bullicanti, which means controlled bubble. Like I saw this sitting in a window of an antique mall. I mean, it's got the
Nice stuff.
and all of this glows too. And I saw it, and I was like, I'm thinking in my head, there's no way that's uranium glass. And closer I got to it, it just, once you handle enough of it, you start to know, right? Yeah. But it's a progression thing. So like at first I just saw green glass and I was just like, all right.
Not all that's green glows.
Yeah. And so and there's been times where like online auctions where like I've taken risk because I thought, there's a possibility that this can glow. And if it glows, paying $5 for it is definitely worth it. But like then I found out more about Vaseline glass. So Vaseline glass is the yellow, very yellow, only yellow. They call it Vaseline glass because it resembles the way that Vaseline used to look back in the day. And so uranium glass is only green. So Vaseline glass, yellow, uranium glass, green, but it's all uranium glass because they use the uranium oxide in the mixture that they're making the glass with in order to obtain that color. So then I started finding out about yellow glass. Then I found out that there's a whole nother world of like custard glass, and it's just like that's when I started really like going off and just finding things that like people had no idea. Like
even marbles.
Yeah,
they
make marbles with uranium, but like lampshades, lamps, everything.
So you said that they put that in for the color. So is the glowing almost a byproduct, or is the glowing what they're trying to achieve?
No, the glowing is just so happens. Like
byproduct.
Yeah, nobody knew about it when they were making it.
Was it during World War II they started it because
they took away the uranium. You're out of the screen.
I'm not. Oh, okay.
They took away the uranium from everybody because of the war. So like then they weren't using it anymore. And then like few companies started doing it and they used it all the way up until like the 70s. And now there's people that are still making glass with uranium oxide, which is fascinating too. So like it's difficult.
I remember when they thought it was dangerous to have it, and then Timothy I said, "Are you sure this isn't dangerous?" He's like, "Mom, there's more uranium in a banana than there is in this."
Yeah, because at one point there was a lot down here, and everybody started getting a little skeptical. They're like, "I don't know if this is such a good idea."
Imagine if there's like a critical mass, and all of a sudden, something crazy. Yeah. Did you want to ask about?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the platforms that you sell on, because you said that you sell on 5 different platforms.
Six platforms. So I started on Etsy, and Etsy is what I worked on basically. So I've been doing this for how long? 2 years now, 2.5.
2.5, yeah.
2.5 years, going on 3, something like around there. And so I started just on Etsy, and it was slow going at the beginning. Like, I mean, we would get excited if we made a sale or two every 2 weeks. And then as I started falling in love with it and putting more effort into it, I started realizing like, okay, I got to build. I have to have inventory.
Not just my stuff to downsize, but he had to branch out, put some more things in there.
Yeah. So then
mid-century modern, because I don't have any mid-century modern.
Was it just a game of numbers then? You had to have the volume on there, or was it more the right thing?
Yeah.
Well, in the beginning, it was just about pure volume. I felt as if, in order for somebody to kind of take you serious, to be able to see a lot in a store makes somebody, in my opinion, makes somebody feel a little bit more comfortable about buying something than if You have
Well,
0 feedback and 5 things that's
this
listed.
phrase that stuck with me, that I think it was my uncle told me, and it says, in order to sell an orange, you have to have a stall full of oranges. Right? Nobody's going to buy one orange if that's all you've got, because they won't take you seriously. And it is a mental thing. So if you've got a store with loads of uranium glass, they think this guy knows his stuff. That's
Exactly.
what they think. And they will actually pay more if you've got a store full of it, because they assume you're an expert and all of this. And it's totally in the mind, but it works.
Yeah.
And it's also, this guy's not cleaning out his mom's basement, and when he's done, he's not going to have anything new when he gets rid of all of her stuff. But he kept adding, and it wasn't just my stuff. He was putting mid-century modern in. He was adding the Vaseline, because I didn't collect Vaseline. Yeah. And after that, you know, I was going to answer Big Girls Really Do Cry's question. Where did the name Over the Years come from?
Oh yeah,
well, it just came from the fact that this started off selling the things that she had accumulated over the years. And that's pretty much where it came from. And so when I started doing Etsy, and Etsy started to grow, one of the big breaking points for Etsy growing was when we got featured in the Bon Appetit magazine. So Bon Appetit magazine did a story on the best places to buy Pyrex from on Etsy. And so I didn't even know that they were writing about us at all. Just one week happened where I almost sold every piece of Pyrex that I had listed, like over 60 pieces. And so maybe about 3 or 4 months after that, I was in a store and I was just waiting for something at the cell phone store. And I was Googling our name, and I came across the article, and I was like, this is like from 4 months ago. Nobody told me. And then it all made sense as to why it happened. So like, that was a big turning point. And then things just started to progress. So, I mean, I've made over 2,000 sales now on Etsy. And then I started being like, it's just picked up. And I was like, I saw that I could make a business out of it. But I knew that I had to find a way to branch out. So then I didn't even know there was like a reselling community on YouTube when I was in this mode. And so like, I kind of started stumbling across like channels over time. And then I started realizing like, I can use the same method of antiques and vintage and collectibles to anything. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to test the waters with eBay. So then I started doing eBay, and
I've just found you on Etsy, if anyone wants to give you a follow.
Yeah. And so I started realizing that there was the eBay kind of had some more room for me to wiggle with. And the first thing I think I started off with moving a couple of things from Etsy. And then the first things I started doing on eBay was just like anything that was new in package I could find at a yard sale.
Hard goods.
So I started testing those, and they were moving a little bit. And then I just kept, expanding little by little. And then remote controls. And that's how I found your guys' channel. Was I saw the video of you guys testing remote controls.
I was doing one before we went live.
All the videos.
And so like, then I was like, this is insane. People were buying remote controls. And then I started selling like 2-3 remote controls a week. And my mom was looking at me like, this is crazy. Like, are you sure this is like for real? And I'm like, I guess so. And so next thing you know, I started making a good amount of money on eBay. And then I found Tracy and Tommy. And so I started watching them. And then I started like realizing, I'm like, there's so many opportunities. So then I started getting into clothes. And then I found another person I found through Tommy and Tracy was this, we call him Tank or Cernock. He's into hats. And so like, I just kind of started soaking in all this information. And then, that's how I found out about a lot of people worldwide was from Tommy and Tracy, and then like, next thing you know, I'm watching people in Australia, Canada, the UK. And I'm just like, there's so much information. So then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go all out. So I signed up for Depop. I signed up for Poshmark. I signed up for Grailed. I signed up for Macari. So, and then I just kind of like, I look at when I buy one thing, I'm like, okay, like this shirt can go on all 6 platforms if it's vintage. You know, the only thing, like, you know, each platform kind of has its the stipulations. So at Etsy, it has to be at least 20 years old for me to sell it. Okay. eBay, everything. Poshmark, only clothes, but some home goods. So I've kind of like experimented with some of the teapots and teacups, like things that, you know, would be not necessarily collectibles. There definitely are collectibles, but something that a normal person might be attracted to who's just buying, you know, other things. Depop is all clothes. You know, Grailed is just men's clothes. Macari is everything. So like there's times.
Does that cause a headache? I mean, my instant thought is, oh, how do you keep track of that?
Yeah, when you sold the same thing on 2 platforms.
So that happened for the first time the other day. I sold a hat in the middle of the night. It's sold on Grailed, which is only for men, but it's worldwide, which is what's really good about Grailed. And then eBay. So obviously I had to cancel the Grailed order because everybody knows you can't cancel the eBay order.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though the profit margin was higher on Grailed because the fees were less, but it's just part of the way that the business goes. So I use a program called List Perfectly. And so what it is, and thanks to Tommy because he put me onto it. So what it is basically you can upload an item to List Perfectly, and from List Perfectly you can send it over to each platform. So if an item sells on one platform, you can go into List Perfectly and click sold, and it will take it all down from all the sites. But a lot of times I do it manually because, like, I wake up in the morning. If Josie's watching, I'm sure she kills me sometimes. I wake up in the morning and it'll be like 6 o'clock in the morning. I just lean over and I pick my phone up and it's like all these notifications. So like you kind of have to be on top of it. But like for me, I mean, I'm bipolar, so like I'm always like, you know,
up and down.
So like in a sense, it kind of like keeps me going because like it makes you be on your toes. And I mean, I like it. I don't like easy. Easy is boring.
So I'm guessing that if you had to pick a favorite platform, it's Etsy. Then would that be true or not?
Probably.
So maybe if you would have asked me this a little while ago, it would have been an easy yes. Okay, but Etsy is making changes too, just like every platform. And I mean, the thing is like I'll tell you that Etsy customers 100% easier to deal with than eBay customers. I've had maybe 1 or 2 people like just like be like an eBay customer, and I think I've made almost 2,100 sales.
There do seem to be a nice sort of market.
Yeah, sometimes eBay people can be a little pissy.
Oh yeah. Oh, we have all of those customers. I think a part of it, tell me if you agree, is that eBay has kind of people have learned how to use the system. And it's been widely shared. If you say this and do that, you can get it for free. Or if you complain in this way, you'll get half your money back, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think
we're battling
that culture hasn't grown on the newer platforms yet.
Yeah. And there's 20,000 more people on eBay. eBay is the granddaddy of them all. And your exposure is so much greater. But the more people you're exposed to, the more they shake the trees and the nuts and the
but like Etsy
fall out.
Etsy has done some things recently that have raised questions with me, especially as somebody who has like such a reputation on Etsy. You know, like they're doing this thing where like you have to use their advertising program on Etsy. So if somebody clicks on an item in Google or whatever, and they go to Etsy and buy it, if you're not it's not like necessarily like a bracket, but if you haven't, you know, reached their criteria of sale numbers, then you're going to pay 15% on that item, you know, on top of the already fees that they have. So now if you sell an item that way, Etsy's fees are starting to, you know, get up there with eBay fees,
right?
Which is kind of, you know, takes away from the whole point of selling on Etsy. But at the same time, so I'll just briefly go through pros and cons of the platforms. Etsy, you will get more money 9 out of 10 times for the same item if you sold it on eBay. Okay, that's just, in my opinion, a fact. Now that I don't know if that's because the market is more saturated on eBay with the same items as opposed to Etsy, but especially with Pyrex, I see Pyrex sell for almost 10 to 15% cheaper on eBay than it does on Etsy sometimes. But with Etsy, I think the interface is a lot more user friendly on both ends as far as a seller and as a buyer, but it does take a lot longer to list sometimes on Etsy because Etsy is very similar as far as YouTube goes when it comes to the SEO. Like you want to have your title and the same words in your title to be the same words in your description. And then you have a little section where you can add keywords at the bottom of the Etsy section.
Yeah.
So that takes you a little bit longer, but it also increases visibility on the rest of the internet. And so I'm a big circle of life sort of thing when it comes to marketing and everything. So I link everything together at all times, and I use the power of Instagram a lot. I try to post 3 items from my Etsy store on my Etsy Instagram every day, and 3 items from my other stores on my other Instagram account every day. And I definitely see where that you can see with the analytics on Etsy are really good too. You can see where your traffic's coming from. You can see the age groups and all that stuff, which is very interesting. Now, eBay, obviously, a lot of eyes. That helps on eBay. I feel like, you have a wider range of opportunity as far as what you can sell on eBay. And that's definitely a pro. Cons are, I'm not going to go in. Everybody knows all the cons on eBay pretty much already. Now, Grailed, I find to be really amazing because, once again, you can sell things on Grailed for higher than what you could sell on eBay when it comes to men's clothing, especially vintage stuff, hats and shirts and things like that, and shoes. But you can also sell new stuff on there. And their fees are really cheap, 6%. Although right now they're having an issue where the money that you charge for shipping, it hasn't been showing up in your PayPal account, but that's just started happening. So I'm sure there's some sort of bug in correlation to the lockdown, but their fee is only 6%. That's great, and you pay your PayPal fee.
We had a bug with one of the apps.
This morning.
Depop, was it?
Yeah.
Where they sent a courier to come and pick it up before the sale had come through.
Yeah.
So the notification, there's an issue with notification. So you're like,
so
I haven't
opened the
them.
door and I was like, oh, I don't think I've had any sales. So he just cancelled it off, of course. And then at just over an hour later, the sale came through.
Oh, that's
and
weird.
And then also, at the same time, it was buyer pays postage, and they charged me the postage and took it out of my bank account. So,
yeah, that's very odd. So, it's funny you say that. Last night I sold a pair of shoes, and I'm pretty quick with my shipping. So I sold a pair of shoes on Depop last night. Woke up this morning, packed it, and we took it with all of our other orders. And then I got a message maybe 30 minutes before we signed on, asking me if I had shipped it already. And I was like, yeah, I shipped it today. And I'm like, maybe then you say that, maybe I'm thinking it's taking them a little bit of time for the orders to process. And that's what the people are saying.
Yeah, a long delay for the notification to us that we'd actually sold the thing.
And see, you see Cernock right now, he said he just hit 600 sales on Grail today, which is crazy, it's especially for a new platform. But I am of the firm belief that the more eyes you have on an item, the better. So for me, the power is in numbers. If I have something that's listed on 6 platforms, the chances are that the turnover rate is going to be a lot quicker with that, instead of and I don't have all my eggs in one basket. I have it everywhere. And then when we're not on lockdown, I sell on the market at the flea markets, your car boots. So, and on those, I do 500 to 800 in American dollars on a Sunday.
Wow.
And that's just
but we're not going to have those if the lockdown continues.
Yeah.
And if we do, then there's going to be there'll be
So
restrictions on.
Yeah, I'm not really counting on that anymore, but I prepared myself by expanding into these other platforms. But every platform has its pros and cons. It's like with anything in life. Nothing's ever going to be perfect.
No.
Well, you have to adjust, you have to adapt, you have to be innovative, you have to think outside the box. Like all of those things you have to do, and that's in any business.
But you're going to be on the road this summer. There's not, I don't know, there'll be yard sales, but there'll be restrictions, I think, on how they're done. And there'll be he's going to have to go to, I mean, Goodwill auctions used to be great. Then collectors and other people realized what was on there, and they drove the prices up. So there's not really anything good at our Goodwill stores because all their good stuff goes on their online auctions. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we just got to, Midwest Picker was telling me about a video he had on what to do, other ways to source, and you're just going to have to do it, other ways.
Yeah, but like you said, the one thing you learn quickly when you run your own business is you have to be open to change your plans, adapt to what's going on around you, because nothing stands still. And if you do, everyone else gets ahead of you. It's a constant evolving and learning what actually works.
Yeah, we certainly don't do things the same way we did when we started 20 years ago.
No, because we'd have been left way behind. You have to move with the times. And for us, YouTube has opened up so many avenues, not only from learning, but for reaching people and sharing our store and all of these things that we never imagined it would be. And I would imagine that your YouTube, the more it grows, will be another funnel into your Etsy store and your eBay store and this sort of stuff. And it's all, like you say, eyes on the item, and it all adds up. So
and I like to watch these channels or not channels, but there's sites where people are collectors. Like we go to a Flow Blue club, we go to a Hall Teapot club. And then there's some that just are called collectors of vintage items and flea market finds. And you can see what these ladies and guys are collecting now and what they're looking for. And you learn a lot from them. That's when I knew we were done with the Goodwill auctions, when I saw about 5 different ladies say, "Oh, I got this on the Goodwill auction for nothing." I'm like, oh, now the collectors are turned on to it. The collectors and the dealers, and no more deals on auctions, and trying the price way up.
Trying to stay just ahead of the trends is almost impossible, but that's where you want to be.
Yeah, but it's fun to see what all these people collect. Some sites allow you to sell on them, but I'm not on any that I could even plug over the years on.
Yeah. So I want to try. I don't know if people have got questions. I highlighted this one from Tea Cakes. Says, "Hey, over the years, good to see you. Did you ever figure out the mermaid? What's that?"
So I forget whose chat we were in. I think we were in, it might have been the one with you and Antiques Arena on the Crystal chat. And they had mentioned that they had this ceramic mermaid that they could not identify. And so like for me, I'm like huge on helping people. Like, so I love it. I'm like, send me a question, anything, like I'll do anything I can to try and help. And so like she sent me the pictures, or I keep saying she, I'm hoping it's a she, but like they sent me the pictures of the mermaid, and I can't figure it out. That's the toughest part about this. It's like the frustration of not being able to identify something.
And you don't want to give people the bad information.
Even with everything that you have in hand, as far as we use Worth Point, all the books and Google and all those things. It's just like it's crazy how sometimes it's just you can't figure it out. And like I've had pieces that I've taken. I remember I took a couple of pieces to an auction house where they do free appraisals, and they had looked at a couple of pieces and they told me that they weren't that valuable. They poo-pooed me. And I think it was primarily because of my appearance and, my vernacular. So I did my own research, and it turned out to be a very valuable item that's like highly sought after. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. Holy Grail.
Yeah, Ashley says, question, what is the holy grail item you would love to find? We'll ask both of you and see if it's different that you would love to find. And would you keep it or sell it? So Marjukes, we'll let you go first.
Well,
What is
I would
the
have
holy
to
grail?
say probably some flow blue piece, and I would have a hard time. I don't want anything big anymore. I wouldn't mind finding some really nice terrain or something in the flow blue, and that would be hard for me not to keep it.
I mean, okay, so there's so many, obviously, but I can give you one off the top of my head. So Pyrex is Pyrex, uranium, and Vaseline glass, and
flow blue.
And flow blue are like the three things that I'm always looking for. Okay, but there is a holy grail of Pyrex that I have visions of. Where you where you can't sleep at night and you're trying to put yourself to sleep, so you think about something crazy. So I think of picturing myself in the thrift store, seeing it and what I would do if I found it and how I would go about I think the whole thing through. And there's a piece of Pyrex called Lucky in Love, and it is considered to be the most valuable piece of Pyrex ever. And I think the one I've seen sell most was for $9,000. One piece of Pyrex.
What is this?
It's a casserole. It's a casserole dish.
A casserole dish sold for what?
$9,000.
Who pays that? Come on,
somebody.
Okay, and my girlfriend is in the chat. She says the Gallet vase. So yes,
a French.
The piece of glass that we took to get appraised was a piece of Gallet, and so that is another I want to find a large Gallet piece. So Gallet is a French glassmaker, and they specialize in cameo glass. And so that's another piece that I would love to find is a night, because I mean that stuff is that's the type of stuff you see on Antiques Roadshow. So one of my favorite shows, before I forget, one of my favorite shows to watch is on BBC, is the Antique Road Trip.
They go around
and Bargain Hunter, and there's another one that they do all the same crew members from all those shows. But I am absolutely fascinated by that, the stuff that I've learned from watching those shows. That's the thing is I feel like some people don't realize that it doesn't matter where you are if you're in the Midwest of America, if you're in the UK, if you're in Australia, Canada, Japan, there's something there that you can take in and apply to your everyday business, your everyday life, your knowledge. And for me, that's the biggest blessing.
Do you also get the antique? You mentioned Antiques Roadshow, the classic British.
But Antiques Road Trip.
Yeah, but I heard that one. But do you get the Antiques Roadshow as well?
Yeah, the original one. Yeah. Where they set up at the castles and they have the people come in
the house. Yeah, and then
oh my god,
worth £1 million.
Yeah.
So that's how we found out.
That's been shown since I was a tiny kid. Yeah. Since
it's best to watch the old ones, because that's where you find some of the knowledge that if you don't watch all of them, they bring pieces that you just would never know about. But that's how I found out about Gallet. So I had this little piece of yellow glass with gold detail around it, and it had a signature on the bottom. I could not read it for the life of me. And Josie and I were laying in bed watching Antiques Roadshow, and this woman brought on these 3 gorgeous pieces of cameo glass made by Gallet, and I'm looking at it, and they're talking, and I'm looking at the signature, and I'm looking at Josie, I'm there's no way, but there might be a way. And it turned out the next day I'm looking at the signature, and I'm it is a Gallet piece. And then so we paid 10 cents for this at a Russian Orthodox rummage sale, and it turns out to be worth $400 or $500. So yeah, that's how I found out. I finally figured out what it was by watching that show.
That's so cool.
That is mad.
I just want to say thank you to Daryl for the
yes, thanks, Daryl. He says he's just subbed to you guys, which is fantastic.
Yeah. And Niall there says, love Antiques Roadshow and Road Trip, as I'm a dealer in Antiques and Collectibles.
Yeah, and even as a dealer, you've always got something new to learn.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. I mean, we've always dabbled in antiques. When we first started and went full time, when Ellen was a baby, there was a really good auction house here in Hitchin where we live, and that's where we first started to buy vintage and mid-century pottery and collectibles. I bought some
glass, then I kept it, didn't I? Actually, we did sell it like a couple of years ago.
So we've always dabbled, but we've never really expanded our knowledge and gone down that rabbit hole like you have. And that's the element of your channel that I'm enjoying, is when you just go hard on something and say, right, let's look these things up on eBay and find out which are the expensive ones and this, that, and the other. It's great. Okay, how long have we been? Oh, we've been on an hour and 10 already. Blimey. Okay. So we've got 2 Aussie thrifters in. I mean, talking about YouTube being global, it truly is now. And we've all grown friends from just about every part of the world, which has been mind-blowing for us. And it's so good to see you guys embracing that as well.
Oh, we were on with Brad and the 2 Aussie thrifters with me, Zahir, Rob from Australia, and then Ronnie Hart from here in America. Like it was so much fun. It was amazing. Like just to have like all those different characters from different places, like who all have like the same love of one thing. Like it's, I don't know. I'm like, that's why I was so excited to do the help you guys with the Red Cross fundraiser, because I'm just like,
yeah,
I was like, some people will be like, you know, like doesn't really have anything to do with you. And like, for me, that's the biggest point. It's like, you can't wait until it only affects you to do something about something. And so like, I'm super fortunate because like my mom raised me like my dad too, but they raised me to be, you know, this like super caring and understanding, and like, it's not about you, like the bigger picture, and to be well-mannered and like being polite. Like, I'll be in an estate sale and like I say yes ma'am, no sir to everybody all the time. Because if not, when I was like, you know, Ma Dukes would be right there ready to smack me upside the back of the head. But like, you know, so like it's embedded in me. But like I remember finding out about the Brad and Jazz from 2 Aussie Thrifters when they were getting ready to the whole thing with the Australian fires, and they were getting ready to do the charity event. And that was one of the I was telling them this. That was one of the breaking points of me going full time, because I was so devastated that I had to be at work during that. And I couldn't do, I wasn't able to like be a part of it. And I was just like, you know what? Like, it's time for me to be able to just be like, have that freedom of when I need to do something inside of me, I feel the need to do something, that I don't have to have this restriction of the man holding me back, that I can just go do it. And so like I chomped at the bit to help with your guys' fundraiser, because like that's the thing. It's just like, if you have an opportunity to help and to do something, like to be able to do it is the biggest gratification, more so than selling a $500 item on eBay. Yeah, that pays the bills, but it doesn't give you the same sort of feeling as helping raise 6,000, you know, pounds for the British Red Cross. Like that's.
We had so much fun, but that wasn't really the point of the whole thing. Obviously, having fun, but it was great to add that in. We want everyone to have fun. But honestly, we've done a few charity events since we've had this platform, and we've had this little bit of a reach to people, and we've got so much out of that. And we'll continue to do it. And we just want to say again, thanks for it, because you ended up rounding it off. You were the last kind of event, and everybody kind of turned up and had a laugh. It was just. Such a good weekend. I want to go back.
It was a really good
one. So yeah, well, we'll think about wrapping this one up now. I'm just going to see if there's any other questions we haven't touched on.
So our last question is, what do you have any plans for your business going forward and for your channel going forward?
I think right now we're just kind of like
we got to drop back and punt with the quarantine and all that and how things go.
We're just trying to keep growing too. Like that's the thing. It's like I'm trying really hard to push myself to learn new things, like I always have been. So like right now I have 250 tie clips and cufflinks, mid-century modern, like vintage that I'm like going through. So I'm doing that. And then as far as the YouTube channel goes, I enjoy doing the lives because for me, it's like, I don't necessarily care. Like they say something about lives affect your analytics and this and that. And like, I reached 1,000 subs. I don't have the hours, right? But like I come going through the journey of YouTube, I have met so many people that it's like it's enjoyable now. Like to be able, and it's difficult to watch everybody's channel across the world, you know.
I know you're up at night going, ooh, let me check on OBX.
And so like
any work done, would we?
Yeah, so like, but at the same time, it's important. Like I owe so much to so many different people, you know, like especially Tommy and Tracy, because they really like gave me the push, and that kind of drove me to expand to all these different channels and different people across the world. And so like I'm super grateful to them. And like, you know, we got a group of people that are like who are starting out on YouTube now, and they contact me and I'm like, yeah, I totally will help you. So like now it's just like for me to be able to try and return the favor, like it pay it forward, like that's what it's all about. And like people get excited about learning these things from me. So like I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Like I'll just keep feeding you all the information I have, because to me, I'd say it over and over. Knowledge is worthless unless you share it with others. So it's like I could have all the knowledge in the world, but if I just kept it in my head and didn't give it to other people, what would be the point? So it's like if people want to learn more about like the crazy vintage and antique stuff that I know, then I'm going to keep giving it to them. And like, for me, it's all about having fun. Like if you watch our videos, you'll notice that me, her, and Josie, we have a blast doing it. Yeah. So like, I just want to keep having fun, keep learning, make sure my bills keep getting paid. But well, yeah,
I hope that
I love seeing what people are doing, like Cernock and his hats. I thought, who the heck, whatever. I love watching Cernock's videos, Tracy and Tommy, OBX Picker, Dapper Tiger, all these guys. I just like made myself a list of everybody, and I want to start going on their channels and seeing what they're up to.
Yeah,
that's how he's going to expand, is watching other people.
I hope that it has come across your enthusiasm, both of you, because that's what comes across in spades from your channel. So I urge everyone watching, we've put the link below, go over there and check out, have a browse around the videos. I mean, Ashley's just said there, fab chat. Thank you all. It's been great finding over the years channel, treasure trove of knowledge and awesome people. That kind of sums it up there. Let's end on a few comments. I'll read out a few. Rosie says, great enthusiasm, Tim, for what you do. It brings items to life. And that is so true. The enthusiasm rubs off, you know, and I love it when I get the comments, when I get excited about the weirdest stuff, you know, like random junk. And people are like, I can't help watching it because it's enthusiasm. And that's what carries the message and the information across, I think. If you sat there stone-faced, this is a such and such, isn't it nice? Next. It wouldn't translate, right?
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, seriously, if he's going to branch out, he's going to learn from everybody out there how to branch out, because that's where he's going to find out. He's going to get it all back when he watches all of you guys and the other channels.
And you do get back more than you give out, honestly. I mean, we've been doing this for ages, and what we get back in messages and friendship and the whole gamut of it is way more than we give out. Mel is in. I love Tim's energy and passion again. Over the years,
he's gonna have Zahir on today.
Sorry,
Zahir is gonna be on with Mel tonight.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know when though, time-wise.
I think in 10 minutes.
Oh,
okay.
Perfect. We'll send everyone over there in a few minutes. Hi, Marinus Decker. Over the years, you have a new follower.
Oh,
good.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to be able to send people over to you and get the whole experience. You know. Thanks, Robbie. That's lovely. Appreciate that. Oh, there's Tracy. Tim, Josie, and Ma are the most honest kind of people. That's what people love to see. There you go. Moon Dreams has subbed. So yeah, and it goes on. So lots of people going over to have a look. Please do. The link is below. If you're watching this after the fact, please drop us a message. Let us know what you thought. And yeah,
thank you.
I think we're done. That was fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
That was so much fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Thanks, Lovey.
what was that?
Thanks, Lovey.
Oh, was that an English
My
accent?
aunt always called me Lovey. I love to hear that. Aunt Marge.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks
We'll do it again sometime when you're at 10,000 subs.
That might be a while, but okay.
We'll take it. Whatever.
Hi, Dermot, another friend of ours. That was really fun to watch. Nick and Andrea, thank you very much to Margeeks and Tim. Fantastic. Yeah, lots of people saying thank you. It's our pleasure. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back on Sunday with a live. So yeah, until then, thanks for joining us, guys. Really appreciate that.
Thanks.
Thanks.
And we'll see you next time. Take care.
You too. Be
Well,
safe.
they're not talking to us.
They're not.